Tonight's lead, Republicans continue the fear-mongering today. New evidence about why the Republicans continue attacking the president's policies, even though they're getting nowhere. Why? Because it's personal. Today, the #2 Democrat in the Senate, Senator Dick Durbin, made a stunning revelation. He wrote on his Facebook page, in a negotiation meeting with the president, one GOP House leader told the president, "I cannot even stand to look at you." They can't even stand to look at him? From day one, this relentless attack on Obamacare is deeper than policy. It's about this president. Both Speaker Boehner and Majority Leader Eric Cantor denied the comment today, and a spokesman for the White House also denied it. Senator Durden has not commented. But there is no denying Speaker Boehner's fear-mongering about Obamacare today.
We've got the whole threat of Obamacare continuing to hang over our economy like a wet blanket. Employers scared to death in terms of what they have to do and what they don't have to do.
Employers are scared to death? Really? To death? And Majority Leader Cantor had the same talking points today.
The American people are now fearful of their health care. I mean, they're downright scared about what's going to happen with their health care next year.
Americans are downright scared. Scared of what? Getting health coverage? But here's what the GOP should be scared, and what should scare the daylights out of the other Republicans. Today, a fourth poll backs up the other three after the shutdown, showing approval of the Republican Party is in free fall. 4 polls, 4 record lows for the party, and as they go way one way. Look what's happening to Obamacare. The approval is up in all 4 polls. More Americans are liking Obamacare, despite the problems with the website. And this is why the right-wing talkers are dusting off their old, ugly playbook.
And here comes socialism. Obamacare is just part of a vision for the forced sharing of American assets. That's a form of communism because no country could afford those payments without seizing the assets of everybody else.
It's socialism, communism. But wait, he left out Marxism. Don't worry, here's Glenn Beck last night.
He has all of the earmarks of a Marxist dictator. He does. He doesn't like anybody to challenge him.
Marxist dictator. Americans reject their war against the health care law, but like a deranged Energizer bunny, Republicans just keep going with the fear, with the hatred, with the ugliness. It's no wonder they can't stand to look at the president. He's winning. Joining me now are Joy Reid and Karen Finney. Thanks for coming on the show.
Great to hear. Hey, Rev.
Joy, they deny it, but can you see a Republican leader telling the president, "I cannot even stand to look at you"?
The problem for the Republican Party, Rev, is that, yes, I can. I mean, if it was completely implausible that a member of the House of Representatives or the United States Senate would say something like that, I think that they'd have a reason to be outraged about the story and to attack Dick Durbin the way some have demanded he take it back, etc. But the problem is that they have created in themselves a party that really is that vicious. They've been outwardly rude and disrespectful to the president before. Members of the party have been. And their base doesn't just disagree with this president. There's a part of their base that absolutely hates this president.
Wait. You mean disrespectful to the president? You wouldn't talk about saying you lie in the middle of a State of the Union address or asking him for his birth certificate.
Exactly.
So why would we ever believe Senator Durden, the #2 Democrat in the Senate, when he says something like that, given things they've already done?
And remember when Donald Trump and other people were rising to the top of the Republican heap in the primary, before the primary really got going in earnest, the criteria for being the #1 Republican was just how much could you attempt to belittle the president. The reason they like Donald Trump Trump is that he was trying to force the president to show his birth certificate. The more disrespectful, the more rude. They wanted somebody to put Barack Obama in his place. That is what they wanted out of a nominee. And to demonstrate that, you had to go further and further to the edge of complete disrespect for the office and the man.
Yeah, well, he is in his place, the White House. But to that point, Republicans have spent a lot of time, Karen, fear-mongering over Obamacare. Watch this. All from elected Republicans. Watch this.
Men and women who've looked me in the eyes who've said, I'm scared for this country. I'm scared for my kids. I'm scared for my grandkids.
Hundreds of emails and phone calls expressing real fears from folks about Obamacare.
Businesses hate it. Individuals fear it.
The fear is that only the sick will pay to join the exchange.
Which health care plan can you afford so you can see your doctors? This is what keeps parents awake at night, fearful that life is not going to work out the way they hope.
Fearful, awake at night. I mean, the boogeyman attached to health care for people that could not get health care or any insurance, Karen.
Well, and they've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars behind all of those talking points with ads that we've seen, and probably some that we haven't seen, frankly. And, you know, there are all these crazy emails that go floating around with all different pieces of misinformation. I mean, you know, it is a very shameful legacy of the Republican Party. When this is all said and done, they worked harder than any party in American history to deny people health insurance. I mean, that is a shameful legacy. Rather than working with the president, rather than trying to improve the things that they maybe had problems with, even though it contained Republican ideas, they decided that their strategy was going to be they were going to go all in on hate and fear-mongering. And instead, people are trying the system and they're saying, you know what? We like it. We need health care. It's a problem. That's part of their problem is they're not looking to solve problems. They're looking to take Obama down.
You know, when you look at it, Joy, Republicans have attacked this president in every which way and failed. That's why they're so enraged. They swore they'd make him a one-term president, but that didn't work. Jim DeMint said the health care would be his Waterloo, but the Supreme Court upheld it. Then came the birther movement. Sorry, Americans didn't buy it. Then it was all the scandals, Fast and Furious. Right. That went nowhere. Remember Solyndra? Well, neither do most Americans. Then they were going to impeach him over Benghazi until they couldn't. They were going to impeach him over the IRS until they couldn't. They were going to just impeach him just over something, except they haven't and they won't. And they were going to defund Obamacare, even shut down the government. That didn't work either.
Yeah, and I think that there is this feeling, if you look at the Stan Greenberg and other research, they have this deep feeling of loss, so that they keep losing to this president. And there is a sense among a lot of the base that they're losing because their leaders keep capitulating and letting the president roll over them. They have this narrative of him as a tyrant. You heard Alan West say that. You heard Glenn Beck say that. And this idea that in this tyrannical way, this elected president of the United States, twice elected by a popular majority, no question, there was no third-party candidate sort of sneaking him in, elected outright, and they can't understand how the world could be configured that their ideas are not popular and are not winning. So what they do is they just demonize the president because, in fact, their ideas just keep losing.
But, Karen, the thing that is ironic is while they say that their leaders are capitulating, the president on the left is getting hit with capitulating too much and compromising too much. And he's being, in many ways, in progressive and leftist circles, seen as anything but a tyrant. They consider him too much a compromiser in many cases.
Some, I mean, on the left, they're disappointed that he's not a socialist. Are you kidding me? I mean, with all the things, right? Like, because the Republican, I mean, if you listen to the Republicans, he's a socialist, Marxist, Islamist, you know, born in another country. I saw one crazy story today that said actually he lied about being born outside of the country because of college. He wanted to get into college. I mean, you know, it just doesn't stop. But I think one of the things, Rev, about this, and you've talked about this before, that I think we have to mention as part of this is, yes, he takes some hits from the left. But usually the hits from the left are based on substance, not style, and and not personal, the way we've seen it come from the right. It's all a part of this othering of our president. And one of the things that, as an American, I'm frustrated by is I think it's disgusting what they've done to this president in terms of using race and racial overtones. At the same time, that's denigrating the office of the presidency. They should not be denigrating the man, and they should not be denigrating denigrating the office of the presidency.
You know, Karen, how do you though explain with them taking all of these hits in the polls? They keep doing this over and over again, and they are paying a terrific political price for it.
Yeah. Well, I think some are starting to recognize that there may be a real price. I mean, you also see reports that, some Democratic campaigns are now approaching business leaders, some business leaders who might have been open, only supporting Republicans in the past. But, Stan Greenberg, Greenberg Research had a great piece out earlier this week that showed that Ted Cruz is actually kind of the mainstream in the Republican Party. And so I think we have to look at that and say, if that's true, then they must believe that their voters, regardless of the fact that they're unpopular with the majority of Americans, they continue to be popular with that narrow base.
All right. Joy, do you think that the forecast now that something that was unthinkable 90 days ago, 6 months ago, that the Democrats now are in play to retake the House, is that just a temporary hype? Or is it now something that could be a reality given these record low polls for the Republicans?
Right. I think it actually is a possibility. It at least is more of a possibility than it was before the shutdown. And the reason for that is that it has not just tainted the Tea Party. It's tainted the Republican brand itself. And you've had brand tainting events ever since the 2012, the 47%. Over time, the Republican brand is being denigrated, particularly with swing voters and suburban voters, what's left in the Republican Party. And I think when people then think Republican, yes, it's a year from now, but Democrats aren't going to allow people to forget. And I think Republicans have got themselves a very serious problem in the House and have probably closed off any chance of getting the Senate.
Karen Finney and Joy Reid, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Rob.
watch Disrupt with Karen Finney weekends at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on MSNBC.